Greetings, my name is Justin Hamby, and I'm coming to you from the Rock Stage here at the Pentecostals of Northwest Arkansas in Rogers, Arkansas. I am so excited to be able to talk to you today about reaching our kids. Reaching Our Kids is the name of our program here at PNWA, Rock for short. And you can see I'm all about rock. It's my favorite thing. Anytime you see me, you're almost certain to see me in one of my rock shirts. I love talking about rock. I love sharing rock. And when I get done with this session, when we're finished today, I hope you're just as excited about the mission and the challenge that is presented from this particular method. We're going to talk today about building an effective kids ministry. You know, the gift of being a minister to children is being there at the pivotal moments in their lives as they experience holiness, godliness, and truth in a world that is constantly pulling them in other directions. We're going to talk about tactics and ideas, burdens, and execution of how to overcome the call of the world and direct the kids' hearts toward God. We're going to talk about the why of worship. We're going to talk about the what of worship, but mostly we're going to talk about building a foundation of worship within this generation of kids, using discipleship in kids ministry. I'm so excited. The first thing I'd like to do is introduce you to Rock at PNWA. Wasn't that exciting? I'm so thrilled to be able to tell you what Rock is. Rock started in 2004, and it was just like any kids ministry that you would see. It was dynamic. We used great themes. We utilized young people and youth. We saw a need to reach out to our older kids. We saw a need to reach out to those who maybe just felt like they were being babysat. We didn't want them to feel ostracized or left out, so we started doing new and exciting things, as any other kids ministry does. Over time, as this developed, we started realizing that while our lessons and our plans were very dynamic, our retention in our youth wasn't exactly where we wanted it to be. We noticed that as the years went by, 2006, 8, 10, we started noticing that as they progressed into youth, that our retention just wasn't where we wanted it to be. They were getting the experience, but they weren't being bought into why they were part of this process. So, it was around this time, my wife and I were looking at starting a daughter work. We had already helped a couple of home missions churches get started, and we thought that this was the next step of our ministry. We began to look for spaces. We began to look for storefronts and homes and businesses and buildings. We knew all of the things that was required to start a home missions church or a daughter work. We knew what it took. It took not just having the space, but having the people. Not just having the people, but having the foundation and Bible studies and work and knowledge and things that it took to get a church really going. These are things that my wife and I worked diligently on, and we knew what it took to start a church. But it was around that time, my mom came to me and she said, "Son, why don't you do within our church what you're wanting to do in a daughter work?" And I got to thinking about it, there's so many reasons why I felt like I could not do the things that I wanted to do here in a daughter work. This is an established church. This is a church that's been in this community for 75 years. My dad is the pastor. My granddad was the pastor before him. This is an established church. There are so many things to overcome when you're wanting to push new ideas and new thoughts. There's some things that have to happen, and it happens slowly sometimes in an established church. And I didn't want to burden anyone. I didn't want to ring any bells or knock any heads. I just wanted to build a church. And I knew what it would take to reach my community. And my mom said to me, she said, you know, you've got a kids ministry on Wednesday nights. We were doing it on Wednesday nights at this point, where you have the pastor's complete support to do whatever it is that you want to do. Why don't you do for the kids' church what you're wanting to do for our home missions? I got to thinking about it. The question that I asked myself is, what if you could start a church within your church? What would you need? You already have all the tools that you need, right? In your church, you've got a building, check. You've got chairs. You've got sound. Maybe you've got some lights. Maybe you've got a great big projector. Maybe you don't. But you've got equipment. I said, okay, I've got the tools that I need. Sound, lights, media, building, chairs, stage, platform, pulpit, cameras, all the stuff that I would want in a new and exciting, dynamic home missions church. What about the people? What about the people? What kind of people do you need to start a home missions church? Well, first and foremost, you have to have a pastor. All right, I'll fill that row. That's me. I'm good to go. One down. I can't do everything. I know there's some that feel like they can. I cannot do it all. So I'm going to need a worship leader. I'm going to need a praise team. I'm going to need door greeters. I'm going to need people to help me clean up the trash after the service. I'm going to need altar workers. I'm going to need someone to run my sound and my lights and my media and my cameras and my live stream. We want a dynamic, growing church. We've got to get the word out. I need someone to run my social media and take pictures. These are all things that you have to do if you're going to start a new church in this day and age. Now, you've got all the tools already in place. The only thing you're missing is all the people. What if you had all the people you needed? They're just kids. That's what Rock is. Every age that comes into Rock, every kid that comes into Rock has a job to do. I've got kids as young as 4 and 5 years old who have led songs on this very stage. I have kids who are basically nonverbal who have come up to this stage and led worship. I've had kids 9, 10, and 11 years old who have come up here and worked these altars and prayed kids through. I've got kids as young as 8 years old who have mentored other kids and taught them how to run new editions of ProPresenter and how to run the lighting and how to run the sound. I've had kids do these things. It is a phenomenal thing to see discipleship within our kids' ministry. As a result, our retention in our youth grew. We started this process in around 2010, 2011, and I'm here to tell you that we're 3 generations in. Our youth group is on fire. Our youth group is participating in leadership. Our youth group is participating in discipleship at the next level. It has been a phenomenal result in retention. These kids have been given a purpose because we believed in them. So if the kids are running the kids' church, where are the adults? Well, I'll tell you. They're in the room. I've got 1 adult for every 10 kids. Some of them are teachers. Some of them are preachers. Some of them are just really good at keeping the inmates from running the asylum. But in reality, they have one job. Their job is not to get on this stage and show what they can do. Their job is to lead worship. You see, the kids already know how to do all these things. They already know how to turn on a computer and how to find ProPresenter and how to click a button. They already know how to turn on an iPad and look for the apps that it takes to start the lights. They already know how to turn on microphones. They already know how to search YouTube for their favorite songs and how to turn on Spotify and how to turn on microphones and how to set up instruments. These are things that kids already know how to do. We're just giving them an opportunity to do it. So when the kids come into this room, this is their playground. I have built for them, and it took many hours, and it took several months, but we plugged in every light, we programmed every show, we set up all the slideshows, every bit of technology and cord and wire and heavy equipment, we set up for them. All the kids have to do when they want to have rock, and when it's time to start rock, they come in, they push 3 buttons, and off they go. I'm reminded of a story of a little girl whose mother did not go to a Pentecostal church, but she taught theology at a local non-denominational. And she was speaking to my wife about Bible quizzing. And she said, I would very much like my daughter to be involved in memorizing the Word. Can my daughter join your Bible quiz team? Absolutely she can. We let her come in every week and learn her verses and sit with our Bible quizzers. Her mom would drop her off at 6 o'clock on Wednesday and come and pick her up at 7:05. Church starts at 7 o'clock. We have rock on Wednesday. But all she was interested in was memorizing the Word and being in Bible quizzing. She had no interest whatsoever in being part of our organization or the process. She was happy where she was. But she did not know that there was an important part missing from her walk with God. And it was revealed through her daughter. It wasn't very much longer that one night she had to work late and wasn't able to pick her daughter up at 7 o'clock as usual. So she called my wife, and my wife said, just let her stay in rock. She'll be fine. No problem. That night, that little girl led worship for the very first time in her entire life. She'd never experienced anything like this. She got up on our stage in her ripped jeans and her tank top and sang a song. She'd never been given that opportunity. Her church did not let her do that. Later on that evening, she finally came and got her daughter. It was around 8:30. Church was over. The altar call was done. And the adults were talking. And while the adults were talking, the kids were in the fellowship hall having rock again. And they came in here and they turned everything back on. They turned on all the lights and they set up all the music and they turned the sound up. And they began to have rock. And my middle child, Bailey, who is my worship leader, said, do you want to lead a song again? And she said, of course I do. And she got up here and she started singing. Her mother under the overpass just waiting. And so here is her daughter singing her little heart out, a worship song that she just happened to know. I went to her mother and I said, you should come and see this. And I brought her inside and I showed her from the doorway of our fellowship hall, her daughter singing with her hand raised, all by herself on a stage that she'd never been on before, except for that night. And sure enough, her mom, with tears in her eyes, recording her daughter, finally felt and realized what it was that she was been missing. It wasn't very long after that I'm so glad to report that we baptized their entire family in the lovely name of Jesus. And this year, both of her children received the glorious gift of the Holy Ghost at an Arkansas kids camp. And it started by just letting a kid sing on a stage, giving her a platform and giving her an opportunity to do the things that she's always been told, you're too young, you're just a kid. But I'm here to tell you that we are commanded to become like a child. It is dictated by Jesus Christ himself that we become like a child. So when children worship, there's no weight to it. There's no fear in it. It's innocent and it's pure. Adults have to work to get back to what it's like to worship and praise as a child. You will be blessed when you let your children lead your praise. We give them ownership of this space. Kids are experts at play. And because they are experts at play, I've built for them a playground. Now, when a kid goes to a school or to a park and they see a playground, they don't need instructions. They know where the swing is, and they know where the slide is, and they know where the open field is, where they can run and play tag or whatever it is that they play these days. And they use their imagination and they make things happen. They're experts at play. They know exactly what to do. The same thing happens when you put them in a church environment. They know the songs. They know to lift their hands. They know to use their voice. We just give them a playground by which to do it. They own all of this. And I will tell you, I've never had an iPad dropped, a microphone broken, or a computer stolen, because the kids know this is their stuff. They have to protect it. What used to be footballs and bouncy balls being thrown in this room is now a place where kids sing and worship, even when the adults are done having church. Empower your kids. Why are they doing what they're doing? We have to seek first to understand and then to be understood. We want kids to know that when they come here, this is a safe space for them. This is a place where they're free to worship. They're free to lift their hands. No, we don't let them just go run amok. There's time for that. Absolutely, we want kids to play. But more importantly, we want to be examples of worship to these kids. And we want to teach them what it means to be a worshiper. John 4:23 is something that is said on this stage every week. The Lord seeks a worshiper. It's a call and response. When I say the Lord seeks, the kids always shout, a worshiper. We have had many times, it's been proven that what we're doing back here is working. More recently, the evidence proved itself during our recent pandemic. Now, over here on our stage, we run everything the same as it's run in our main sanctuary. The same lighting system, the same ProPresenter system, the same computer system, the same live stream system. It's all run the same way. Back in 2020, when we were closed down, you could only have 10 people in the room. Well, it takes more than that, it felt like, to run a church, to run live stream and to run music and to run praise team and to have preachers and to have support staff. It takes more than 10 people. It's a little hard to keep track of who all's here and to be within the guidelines. But we had 2 kids who knew how to run ProPresenter, how to run live stream, and they stood in for the adults. We've had several times where our kids have had the opportunity to step in and do things and help lead worship. Our kids grow as soon as they leave Rock, they become part of our praise team. We've got kids that started as worship leaders as 8 years old who are now singing and leading solos at 12 because they've been developed and they know what their voice sounds like, and they know what it sounds like in a microphone to hear themselves. They know what it's like to have stage presence. They know what it's like to have kids looking at you and not getting behind you. They know what that's like. They get it out of the way early. I've been a part of some churches who have said, when you turn 14, 15, 16 years old, we'll let you do things. And my challenge to you on that is, I've got 5, 6, 7-year-olds who have 10 years of experience. Don't wait until they've lost interest. Get them while they're wanting it and get them bought in so that they'll want to be a part of your growth. They'll want to be a part of your process, and they'll do it with a foundation of worship. No one knows kid culture better than your kids. Let them take the lead. I have an entire staff that's made out of kids. We have a pre-meeting before Rock, and we have a post-meeting after Rock. In the pre-meeting, we decide who's doing what and where and what songs and what order the service is, what game they're going to do. what costumes I'm going to need. All of that's handled by my 8, 9, 10, and 11-year-olds. I have a program called Rock Ambassadors, who their one job is to go and introduce themselves to new kids. We'll have on average 2 to 3 new kids, guest kids that come in, and we celebrate those kids, and we give them a friend that's there to help be their tour guide into this awesome thing that we've created. They walk in and it's hula hoops and subwoofers and lights going crazy. It's an environment that they know is just for them. And our Rock Ambassadors are there to make sure that they know that they're a part of something special. We have Rock Ambassadors that are of every age, from 5 to 11. No matter what your age, if you come into Rock, you will have a friend that will meet you. Can you imagine the type of church culture you would have if you assigned someone in your church to sit next to and introduce them and be their tour guide for your church? What kind of church would you have if you celebrated everyone that walked in the door? We must allow ourselves to be a beneficiary of our kids' expertise. They already know how to do things. You will be blessed if you will just trust them and let them do the things. Don't be afraid to test new ideas. We have seen many enhancements to Rock that have been revealed through this method. For example, we've started a special needs ministry. We've had this going now for 2 or 3 years. We did not realize the impact of that ministry until we got it really going. We had several kids who have benefited greatly from it, and a community that has benefited from it as well. We have a preteen and a youth collaboration that was really not there before. But now we have a way to introduce our youth into our kids ministry and vice versa in a way that makes them feel like they're part of a family